One of the craziest things that can be caught on camera is an animal birth. Many people are fascinated by the miracle of life, and watching an animal give birth is a truly amazing experience. While some births are relatively uneventful, others can be quite chaotic and even dangerous. Watching an animal giving birth is both amazing and horrifying, and it's definitely not for the faint of heart. There are videos of all different kinds of animals giving birth, from dogs and cats to more exotic animals like snakes and elephants. Some of these videos are cute and heartwarming, while others are downright gruesome. But whatever your reasons for watching them, there's no denying that animal births are definitely some of the craziest things. In this video, I will be showing 50 animal births captured on camera. But before we start, if you are interested and want to know shocking facts about the world of animals, do not forget to click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and follow us to receive everything new. The gharial crocodile. The gharial crocodile eggs open this list. Unfortunately, gharial crocodiles are hunted for their unique skin, so they are on the verge of extinction. The gharial can be easily recognized by its long jaws, which it uses to catch fish. Gharial crocodiles come out on the ground to bask in the sun and build their nests. Their eggs are 7 centimeters long and 5.5 in diameter. The female pushes them into the sand, so the sun warms them. The female lays 35 to 60 eggs at a time. The mother protects the nest from lizards until the eggs hatch and continues to do so until the babies learn to fend for themselves on their own. Stingray fish. Stingray litters range from 5 to 15 newborns. Although stingrays spawn, pregnancy does not occur in the same way as in mammals. The developing embryo receives nutrients not through the placenta but from the yolk. Once the supply is depleted, the female begins to secrete fluid. With a special nutrient that works like milk, the babies hatch even before they leave their mother's body. Once they are born, they start their independent lives. As you can see, the process is not the same in mammals and it is not the same in fish. Stingrays have a unique reproduction mechanism. Tigers. Tigers are real masters in pregnancy disguise. Despite the relatively short gestation period of 3.5 months, they are able to hide their large belly up to 10 or 12 days before birth. During these days, busy searching for a place to give birth, caring for her offspring, and establishing a place for it, the mother usually carries 2 to 3, sometimes up to 7, cubs, and the interval between births is 18 to 22 months. Lizards. It is difficult for a female lizard to bear her offspring, giving birth to 1 or 2, and this is not critical, but it must be borne in mind that the total weight of the young is 1/3 of the weight of the female. Imagine a female giving birth to a little one equivalent to a 7-year-old baby. This is about how this orchid was born. Sloth. The sloth spends most of its time in treetops. A mother gives birth to her young in an unusual way, hanging from a branch, clinging to it with her feet. It is in this position that childbirth takes place. The little one climbs on his mother's chest and clings to him. Geese. Geese lay their eggs on slopes at a height of 120 meters. It is the height of a building with almost 40 floors. Immediately after hatching, the young are faced with the problem of lack of food as there are no plants on the rocks. After a few days, begin to jump out of the nest and try to land gently. Hippo. Pregnancy with hippos lasts 8 months. Before calving, females leave the gathering for 2 weeks. During it, she needs to build a strong relationship with her young, bred in water, and immediately teach them to swim. Naked mole rat. Naked mole rats are prolific creatures. It forms a colony headed by queens. The queen is the only female who has the right to procreate. For the first time, mothers give birth to up to 27 babies, the largest number among mammals. Red Christmas Island crab. The massive migration of the red Christmas Island crab can be classified as the most magnificent natural action on Earth. Migration occurs annually from October to January. These crabs move from tropical forests to the coast for reproduction. The land of the island during the migration period is covered with a wondrous carpet of more than 120 million crabs. Males always drive and thus first reach the coast. Females follow her and can lay more than hundreds of thousands of eggs. Look at this now, the little salads. Isn't it nice? So parents are tired of the long journey and eat their offspring emerging from the little slabs. Hedgehog. The hedgehog is known for its sharp spines that cover its body. Embryos in the womb have fine hair instead of spines. However, they begin to harden and sharpen almost immediately after birth when they come into direct contact with air. Frogs. The frog carries its eggs in the stomach. Isn't that weird? It seems strange that scientists initially called these amphibians carnivorous because it is all about the process of private birth. It turns out that females swallow fertilized eggs. This surprised scientists, but what surprised them most was that the stomach acts like a female uterus, working in this role for 7 to 8 weeks. During this time, the female does not eat anything and her body secretes a substance that stops the production of digestive juice, thus protecting the children from digestion. And also we can say that they are fully protected inside their mother. What happens next? The eggs turn into tadpoles in small ones and the frog begins to vomit. The tadpoles come out of their mother's mouths in small batches. Darwin's frog. In the year 1834, while traveling in Chile, Charles Darwin found a rotten leaf that surprised him when the leaf came back to life. Darwin realized that he had discovered a wonderful frog. This frog surprised not only Darwin but also other scientists who noticed his birth. The father in Darwin's frogs plays the role of the mother. He bears the burden of pregnancy. The task of the female in this tandem is to lay eggs and the task of the father is to fertilize and swallow them. Yes, again we are dealing with a frog that eats the young. The female lays eggs and the male blows. Eventually, the father can carry dozens of children at first. Embryos grow indoors where they feed on the yolk of the egg. When it is depleted, they begin to intrude at the expense of the father. And when they grow up a little, they leave the father man who has gathered his offspring. He finally gets a chance to rest, but not for long. After a few months, the cycle repeats. Anaconda. During pregnancy, the anaconda finds a deep pond and stays in it until birth. Pregnancy lasts from 5 to 9 months, and the number of individuals can reach 6 or up to 40. Newborn snakes immediately enter an independent life and begin to explore the world around them. Panda. Pandas are interesting animals in breeding. This mechanism is similar to the reproductive property of the Roman tree like newborn young. The newborn item youngsters are completely helpless, but they have a color and are completely blind. After the birth of the little one, the female devotes herself to caring for him, nursing and caring for him for several days, and does not stray from him one step, as she cannot snack or sip of water. Maternity leave is sure to benefit the female panda. Sea urchin. Sea urchins are incredibly fertile and can lay up to 20 million eggs. Only some of them live. The female and male release a cloud of cells into the water and within hours. Suriname toad. The Suriname toad boasts of another birth process. More unusual are these frogs give birth not like their predecessors, but from their appearances. Imagine that. During mating, the male and female perform the mating dance underwater. The female lays several eggs while the male releases his seed at the same time. Then the female sinks down where the eggs fall directly on her back and stick to it. The male supports this process by pressing the eggs against the skin of the female's back with his hind legs. As a result, from 40 to 144 white are fixed on the back. After 11 to 12 weeks, the pregnancy ends and the babies are born coming out of the mother's back. This process is interesting and unusual. Seahorse. The birth of these creatures is surprising and at least interesting because the main role in them is played by the father. During mating, the male swims in front of the female and the fish clings together, and at this moment, the male opens his pocket on his chest and the female throws a few eggs in, which the process begins, and the male begins to carry the young. By the way, there can be a lot of youngsters. The number of eggs sometimes reaches 1,000 individuals. Within 3 weeks, the hippopotamus protects the young, increases them with nutrients, and cleans the water. When it is time to give birth, the male experiences contractions and begins to push the young out. Seahorses shoot young ones from it with cannons. Snail. Something similar can be seen in the birth of the world's most famous snail, the giant African wild snail. As hermaphrodites, these snails fertilize each other, and each individual has a hole on the right side of the head. After a while, the eggs mature and the process of laying eggs begins. The giant African wild snails experience a kind of contraction and begin to release their young. Every second a new individual is born. Newly born snails feed on the remains of their eggs depending on the climate. These terrestrial snails reach puberty in 15 months and live up to 5, 6, or even 10 years. They grow all the time, but after the first 2 years the growth rate slows down. Kiwi bird. The kiwi bird has the largest egg in mammals. It is worth clarifying that I am talking about the ratio of the size of the egg to the size of the female. A kiwi egg can weigh half a kilogram, although a female weighs 2 to 4 kilograms. Carrying and giving birth to something a quarter of your weight is very tiring. The length of the eggs is up to 20 centimeters amazes, while the length of the female is about 50 to 70 centimeters. Elephant. A newborn elephant weighing from 90 to 120 kilograms falls out of its mother's womb because of its weight. At this stage, it is wrapped with a protective film that softens the impact of falls. The female helps feed the young for 4 years and continues to take care of him for 6 years after birth. That's not much if you think that an elephant's pregnancy lasts for 2 years. Giraffe. Giraffes are considered the longest inhabitants of the earth, and this has a significant impact on the birth process. When the fetus is born, it first protrudes its front legs and then its nose and head. Within an hour it leaves its mother's body, but before it takes its first breath it must fall from a height of about 2 meters. Height is one of the reasons why female giraffes give birth standing. The fetus exits its mother's body and its front legs forward. Newborns reach 180 centimeters in length, which is the same height as European males. Orangutan monkey. Orangutans reproduce in the same way as humans. Pregnancy lasts about 8.5 months as in humans. Newborn babies are as dependent on their mothers as human babies. They have very weak necks which must be constantly supported. After childbirth, the female removes the airway from the mucus and presses it on his body. Rabbits. With rabbits, pregnancy lasts about a month, so rabbits can produce several embryos throughout the year. Young rabbits look like moving hairballs. If you have rabbits and notice something like this in your garden, your rabbits will most likely have offspring, using wool and dry grass as building materials for a living. Rabbits are fairly secret creatures before birth. The female is always trying to find a secluded place. Cats. Cats are another matter. They produce many at once and can do it many times. Back in the year 1952, there was a record for the largest number of cats born to the same cat. The mother was called Dusty and she is a kitten who gave birth to 420 cats in her lifetime. Can you imagine how much that is for mammals? On the 7th of August 1970, representatives of Guinness World Records recorded a 4-year-old cat named Antigone from Great Britain. 19 cats at once. Not all of them survived, of course, but fortunately, a female and 14 males survived. Chickens. Chickens are considered the most offspring, and chickens can also boast of abundance. Usually, it lays from 200 to 250 eggs every year. But there are some surprising exceptions. Italian leghorn chickens are the most egg-producing females. The leghorns lay about 300 eggs a year, and the records lay even more. By the way, not only do these feathered birds have unusual births, but they also have unusual eggs. For example, in the year 1956, a leghorn hen laid an egg with 2 yolks and a double shell. And in the 70s, leghorn eggs were recorded in the USA and the USSR where there were 9 whistles. Ocean sunfish. They are huge 3-meter creatures that weigh a or even 2 tons. Such creatures should have a large waist. Ocean sunfish is one of the most prolific fish in the world. The female can lay 300 million eggs at a time. These are staggering numbers. But why aren't the world's oceans filled to the fullest with ocean sunfish? It's simple. This fish is a very bad mother who shows absolutely no interest in her offspring, so all the eggs die. Part of it can survive. Golden eagle of prey. Females of golden eagles are larger and heavier than males. Every year, the female golden eagle lays from 1 to 3 white eggs with gray-brown spots 7.5 centimeters long and 5 to 6 centimeters in diameter. Then you incubate it for 45 days. Her partner provides her with food 80 days after hatching. The youngsters fly and leave their nest completely after 5 months. Komodo dragon. These large eggs belong to a giant lizard with the beautiful name of the Komodo dragon. These lizards not only lay eggs, but also eat them. Komodo dragon eggs are about 10 centimeters long, 6 centimeters in diameter, and weigh up to 200 grams. The nose guards the nest for 8.5 months until the young hatch. Small lizards are born in April or May. Once born, they leave their mother to climb nearby trees immediately. Griforms. The crane shares the next place in terms of egg size with the emperor penguins. Griforms' eggs reach 11.5 centimeters in length and 6.5 centimeters in diameter. The female lays 2 eggs per year with an interval of a few days after about a month of small hatching from here. The emperor penguins lay eggs 12 centimeters long and 9 centimeters in diameter. Emo bird. It is 15 to 21 centimeters long and weighs about 2 kilograms. The emu reaches a height of 190 centimeters and weighs 55 kilograms. Its eggs are characterized by peculiarity. After laying eggs, they have a green color. The female lays up to 25 eggs that the male incubates, and no one is allowed to approach her, not even the mother. The shark. About a third of sharks lay their eggs. Their development takes about 6 months. The unusual shape of eggs saves children from the unstable sea and from their predation by predators. For example, the egg protects the shark, which is located in a spiral shape, from predators. Prey of this form is not easy to swallow. Praying mantis. The praying mantis lays eggs in foam, which eventually hardens and becomes a protective capsule. The insect attaches eggs to the stems or branches of the plant or even lays them on the ground. The eggs of this insect successfully survive the winter in the temperate climate and are hatched in the spring. Mosquito. Mosquito eggs resemble a peculiar plant bag because the eggs are arranged on 1 centimeter strands that attach themselves to plants in their colonies. Small insects descend on the plant and small insects are used as food. This is how the insect gained its fame as a garden savior. The fire salamander. The breeding process of this orchid has not been studied in general, and there are significant differences in its breeding cycles depending on the habitat and its elevation above sea level. As a general rule, shortly before birth, females gather on the banks of reservoirs and enter the water. These coastal areas choose from mountain streams where clean water is without a strong current, and one female gives birth to about 50 larvae over 10 days. It is known that this orchid lays eggs with larvae that finish their development in a few days in eggs laid in water. Sea turtle. Sea turtles are great because they lay their eggs in places where they hatch. To do so, they have to swim for several kilometers. Females crawl on dry ground and dig a jug-shaped hole in the sand in their hind legs and lay their eggs in it. Then fill the hole with sand and carefully press it, making the nest as hidden as possible. The whole process takes about an hour. The female then returns to the ocean and forgets her offspring. During the entire nesting season, which occurs every 2 or 4 years, the female lays from 4 to 7 nests from 150 to 200 eggs each. However, the percentage of mature turtles does not exceed 1/100%. Fish with a jaw and yellow head. Many have heard about this fish that lives on coral reefs. Yellow-headed fish lives at depths of 3 to 40 meters. The lions. Lions are the only cats that form social groups. It seems that in this case, she has an ideal environment. Mothers care for their cubs and males remain attentive so that a stranger does not spoil this peace. But the law of lions is different from our naive idea. Cubs meet a bitter fate when new males rise to lead and displace the leader. Young males often kill the so-called exiled black breed. Usually, this fate awaits cubs under 2 years of age. The lioness does not care about this scene and does not rush to protect her children. These lionesses are the mothers who will give birth to the new leaders of the herd. Kangaroo. Kangaroos are different animals. She raises eyebrows when it comes to herself. It's not just carrying a cute little piece of fur in the bag, which turns out wasn't born just like that. It's more complicated. Even zoologists could not answer the question of how kangaroos were born. Despite the prevalence of these animals in Australia, at the modern stage of the development of science, scientists understand exactly how they are born, generally depending on the species. These kangaroos give birth to their offspring 30 to 40 days after mating, and then that day comes the day the kangaroo is born. But in the embryonic stage, these babies cannot be recognized exactly like a kangaroo. The creature resembles a worm in color and size. Newborns barely exceed a few centimeters in length and weigh less than a gram. Their front paws are strong enough and well-oriented to follow the smell. So the naked and dense baby holding his mother's fur reaches the bag on his own and begins to eat her milk. The baby kangaroos spend 6 to 8 months in this position until they are fully mature. Donkeys. It is not easy to add a new donkey to this world. The pregnancy of domestic donkeys lasts from 11 to 14 months, while its birth takes only 40 minutes 3 days before birth. He produces milk and then stops eating and shows signs of discomfort in one form or another. The birth process takes place in a supine position. Donkeys may sometimes need human help. Then the new mother spends the next few hours cleaning herself. Hamster. These little creatures are wonderful, but what if I tell you they are not so many peaceful animals? She can even do scary things. If you ever notice the mysterious disappearance of some pink hamsters, she should know that her mother ate it. What drives her to commit such a terrible act in her young? One of the possible causes is stress. The female may feel that caring for her young is beyond her ability and cannot afford it. So getting rid of the little ones is the best solution, or it has generated a lot of little ones. The female may not have enough milk. That's why she was forced to cut off half of her offspring to feed the other. Dolphins. Dolphins are said to be some of the smartest creatures on the planet, but they have a dark side that will amaze you. This often applies to males. She can kill young dolphins. The thing is that the mother takes care of the little ones for a long time and in a row. All this time they do not mate, and for this ridiculous reason, the males get rid of their offspring. A poor little dolphin can become the victim of his careless father or another who showed interest in his mother. In addition, females losing young lose the feeling of motherhood, so they are ready for mating. The crocodiles. Crocodiles are very dangerous animals, and no wonder they are predators. Its clans may be a snake, a wild boar, an antelope, or others. But some crocodiles eat some. They often choose smaller peers. In the end, if a crocodile starts eating another like it, what will be the result? By the way what kind of parent she is, you will be surprised that she is among the reptiles that are considered the most cared for. For example, female crocodiles can carry their eggs or young ones inside their mouth, and although sharp teeth do not cause any harm to their young. Octopus. Did you know that baby octopuses hatch from eggs? Females can only have offspring once in their lives, so this process is very important for them. Octopuses live in all tropical and subtropical seas and oceans, from shallow water to depths of 100 to 150 meters, in search of caves and crevices in rocks. Their children's house is a hole in the ground surrounded by a fence of stones after fertilization. The female builds a house in a stone or cave in shallow water, where she lays up to 80,000 eggs. She always takes care of the eggs, as the female constantly ventilates them by suctioning them with a stream of water. It is surprising that during the active phase of their life, octopuses boast excellent hunting skills and love snacks, But during the entire period of egg development, the female is left in the nest without food and often dies of exhaustion after birth. Deep-sea octopuses spend several years near eggs because the low water temperature makes the eggs long to grow. Not all youngsters manage to survive to maturity. In general, survival rate depends on habitat and other conditions. In some cases, only 1% of children survive. The whales. Usually, in the case of mammals, the male and female form a couple, at least until their offspring become completely independent. During this time, the mother feeds the babies with her milk, and the father protects the family and brings food. However, in the case of whales, things are different. Once the female is fertilized, the male returns home. Females usually carry their young from 10 to 12 months, but as a general rule, 11 months and the baby is born after conception. The intervention of some other whales in the fate of offspring can be observed. When the female prepares to give birth after almost a year of childbearing, as in the case of dolphins at this stage, other females surround her, help and protect her. Only one child is born, but he is born with a fully developed layer of fat, which is necessary for thermal insulation of the animal. The little one makes the first breath the moment he comes out. Breathing is stimulated by the sense of environmental change. The newborn whale cannot swim waving its tail hard, but it cannot move comfortably in the first hours of its life, is helpless, and does not stay afloat because its body mass exceeds the density of water. Recently, researchers were able to photograph whales feeding their young. This process is very difficult to notice because whales are large animals that can move around the entire perimeter of the world. Scientists from the University of Hawaii and Stanford University. Bearded dragon. Bearded dragon or Oriental bearded dragon is the common name for a species of reptile from Australia. Its natural habitat is the savanna. Why do these lizards get such a strange name? The reason is that when a bearded lizard is attacked or threatened, for example, it blows a large skin bag on its throat that looks like a human beard. The orchid grows to 65 centimeters. They live in the wild for 7 to 9 years. But when cared for, they can live 10 or even 15 years. Males are larger than females, although their development depends on the individual abilities of marriage. Despite their sale, they have been banned since the 60s. Bearded lizards quickly gained popularity as pets in the United States and Australia in the XXI century. She was loved everywhere, and now the bearded lizards with Joanna have become one of the most beloved lizards. Many inexperienced owners are terribly afraid when the lizard begins to shed its skin. This process is natural. The peeling of an orchid begins when its skin becomes old, and just like snakes, lizards try to speed up the process of shedding skin by rubbing against the surface or trying to exfoliate their skin with their hands, but pet owners often have to help their pets get rid of excess scales. Elephant bird. The elephant's egg was up to 32 centimeters long and could weigh up to 10 kilograms. The birds themselves had a height of up to 3 meters and a weight of 450 kilograms. These species disappeared from our planet several centuries ago. Striped shark. Surprisingly, scientists still know little about this ancient species. The species was first described between 1800 and 7981. But since then its study has progressed slowly. The reason is considered to be the great depth in which it lives. It lives in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans at a depth of about 1,575 meters from the surface. The striped shark resembles an eel more than the shark's closest relatives due to the presence of primitive features. The lacy shark is called a living fossil. The maximum recorded length was about 2 meters. Females of this species are larger than males, and they require large carrying capacity for pregnancy because the pregnancy of this species lasts up to 3.5 years, unlike other fish that give birth to a large number of larvae. These sharks focus on quality, not quantity. This species has the longest gestation period of any vertebral animal as the female lays eggs inside her body. Growing inside the eggs, they feed on the yolk and hatch only when they are fully mature. The length of the newborn shark baby is about 50 centimeters. Scientists have not yet been able to obtain detailed footage of the birth of these sharks, but they are not losing hope of filming a full documentary series soon. I am sure that they will succeed because they recently discovered new details about the birth of whales with the help of cameras. Stay with us to see the birth of other baby sea animals. Red king crab. When the crab becomes an adult, it must often change its shell several times. Young crabs molt about 2 to 3 times a year. The new shell grows under the old one. When the crab finally emerges from the old shell, it has to hide from any danger for about 2 days. The cochlea needs time to get stronger, and you need to take in enough calcium salt from the water to harden. This is the appropriate period for the growth of the animal when the shell is solid. The crab cannot change in size, and only when soft does it have a chance to grow. But when the shell is done, only the most dangerous predators in the ocean can attempt to finish it off. Adult king crabs have few dangerous enemies as their hard carapace is armed with spines. Good, not easy to catch, the animal moves at a good speed. Ostriches. The ostrich occupies the first place. Their eggs are 21 centimeters long, 15 diameter, and weigh 60 kilograms, so they have a shape closer to a ball. The shell of these eggs is very thick, about 6 millimeters. The male ostrich usually has several females, a primary female, and several secondary females. The main female lays up to 60 eggs depending on the region. The nest is placed on the ground and kept by the male. When the hole is ready, the female takes its place, and then all the other females lay eggs in the same nest. And in about 6 weeks the young are born. That's it for today. What are the births of animals that aroused your admiration? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.